And without further ado, let's get into Season 3. In this story, you'll hear from Eric. Eric traveled to Cuba for what he thought was just a business trip, but it quickly took an unexpected twist that forced him to confront skeletons from his past. Here's what happened.
I want you to breathe all this in, breathe all this in.
This is You Had Me at Black, the podcast where black millennials tell true life stories.
Okay, so my story starts in 1996. I was 11 years old at the time. Every weekend we would go visit our grandparents in Seat Pleasant, Maryland, because both my parents are from there. And when we went, my grandmother would cook every Sunday. And so we go to the supermarket around the corner from our house to get whatever else we wanted to eat. And so we went one weekend. I sat in the car while they went into the store. And they're in there for about 5 or 10 minutes. So I'm like looking out the window, and then I see this guy with all these little puppies that he was selling in a cage. And so I was like, oh, I could use a dog right now. And so, against what they told me to do, I got out the car and walked over to the puppies. Before I could even make it to that side of the street, one of them got away from him and just jetted towards me. Almost got hit by a car and everything. And I'm like, yo, what's up with this dog? He had maybe 8 or 9 of them, but there was this one that just ran straight towards me. And I picked him up and I was like, your dog's trying to get away. He's like, I think he's trying to tell you something. No, maybe he wants to go home with you. When my parents came out of the store, I ended up convincing them to get the dog for me. We named him Dragon. And before you know it, he was part of the family. He grew into this big, brown, stuffed animal looking. He was a beautiful dog. He was like a tannish, almost like a cinnamon color with a white underbelly, and he had a white tip on the back of his tail. My room was downstairs in the basement, so was his. So he would come and scratch my door while I'm on the phone. So he would come in the room and he'd sleep under the bed. He had this spot underneath my bed where sometimes he would surprise me. I wouldn't even know he was there. I'd be knocked out, or I'll be doing something, and then he'll just crawl up from under the bed between my legs. I'm like, dog, you let me know something. We just had a stronger connection than anybody else in there. So fast forward to tape maybe a year or 2 years later. So at this point, we had the dog for 3 years. Yeah, about 3 years. And my family started having problems, just the typical situation, they're not seeing eye to eye, a lot of arguments. That kind of energy trickles down to, other members of the family. We wasn't feeding him the same way. We weren't spending as much time with him. I was, because that was my homie, that was the way I dealt with what was going on. Eventually, my parents split up. They called it quits. I got this thing about animals, well, dogs in particular, that I think that they can pick up on energy. And I've always believed that for some reason. And I knew that he kind of sensed what was going on. He knew something was wrong. One day, I had taken him outside like I normally do. I let him run around for 15 or 20 minutes while I'm on the phone. And then, he'd come back and we go in the house or whatever. So this particular day, I took him outside and, I took my eye off of him maybe for 3 or 4 minutes. And he was gone. He was ghost. We had one of those fences, those electrical fences. So he had a collar, and then the electrical fence would deter him from, getting through. Now that I think back on it, it's actually pretty fucked up, a torture mechanism to make sure that they don't get away. But I never thought that he wanted to get away, So, he had the collar on and I let him go. I'm like, he ain't going nowhere. I go back in the house and I come back out and he's gone. Whatever was going on in that house, it was enough for you to endure whatever electrical shock that collar had, caused as a result of you trying to get through the barrier. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll look around the neighborhood for him. We did it the old school way and we made posters and never found him. So for the next maybe 4 or 5 years, every time I seen a dog that remotely resembled him, It was my instinct to look back and see and make sure that it's not him. Fast forward the tape, 15 years later, and I had to take a trip to Cuba. And I was, in my mind, not really the best person at the time because I was working a lot. I didn't have any time for family. Like, people would call me and I just like send them the voicemail. Occasionally, I might shoot over a text. Not trying to avoid them. It just was a lot going on at the time. So I wasn't the best person. I wasn't people's favorite person at the time, and I knew that. And I carried that guilt with me to Cuba. On the third day there, I see through the distance, it was on Cuba Street. I can remember it like it was like yesterday. It was like an open air market, I think. And there were people walking around, and in the middle of my view, it was this dog that looked exactly like him from behind. The same build, the same white tip on the tail, the same cinnamon color. And I was like, this motherfucker. And then came to Cuba to escape, the family. And then I had to snap myself out of it because I'm like, the dog is gone. But I seen it, and I couldn't help but to try to get a picture of it just so I could at least show the family, look, I seen Dragon in Cuba, to joke about it. And the closer I got to him, the further away he kept walking. I'm busy doing the work, documenting this experience, but I can't help but to keep looking at him, and we were recording something. I almost cut one of the scenes short. I was like, maybe it's a coincidence. I'll see him again. My second day seeing him, we were at this restaurant, and my friend that I was with, we were eating. We were sitting outside on the patio, so we could see what was going on around us. We had finished and wrapped up the dinner, and then the waitress came out with the check. So my friend went to the bathroom, and I look over to my right, across the courtyard, and I see the same damn dog again. And I'm like, Dragon he's playing games with me, man. I'm like, I got to get a picture this time because he's close enough. And the waitress is looking at me like, where the hell you think you going? You going to have to pay this bill first. And I'm like, no, I'm not trying to run off on the bill. I just want to get this picture of this dog. And she's looking at me like, I heard that one before. I just really want to get that dog. And she's like, okay, well, make sure you pay first and then go get it. So I pay the bill or whatever. And then by the time I get over to where he was at, he's gone again. So I seen him again, and he was walking by himself. And so I'm like going towards him, and he does it again, just jets off. And I'm like, this dog feels whatever energy I'm carrying with me, and he ain't trying to be a part of me right now. And I maybe rationalized the dog running away from me because he felt that energy that I was carrying with me at the time. We weren't raised like that. We're a very tight-knit family. And I just wasn't, I felt like I was succeeding in one part of life, but then in the other, I was failing. But on the last night, I decided to take a walk, and it was a late night. I remember it was 10:30. The streets were kind of empty, but there were a few people peppered around the city. Animals running up and down the street, just running amok, knocking stuff over, cats and dogs. Cats in one group, dogs in the other group. Some groups, you see them roaming together. And it was maybe 15 minutes into the walk. And then I seen that dog run behind me. I seen the white tip of the tail. And I'm like, I got to get this picture of this dog. I'm chasing the dog through 3 alleys, trying to get this shot. So I finally got him cornered. And he turned around. Both of his eyes were missing. So he's blind. One of them was cloudy, and then the other one was gone. So then it all makes sense. It all made sense at that point. And that's why he wasn't with the other animals, because he wasn't, they can roam in packs because they can see. He couldn't. So it wasn't this dog trying to avoid my energy. It wasn't this dog knowing that I'm this bad person or whatever. It was just that he genuinely couldn't see me. So at that moment, I'm like, move on with life. And that message kind of carried over into so many other aspects of my life that I didn't realize needed that at the time. And it all came together so perfectly. I feel like I finally figured out a way to allow everything to coexist and to let go what I need to let go in order to move forward. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is call your family. Apologize for the time that you didn't spend, and then figure out a way to be better. And then let stuff go. Like, the dog he's probably been gone. Who knows how, but the lifespan of Dragon wouldn't even last that long. And if it did, he wouldn't look the exact same way he did when I was in middle school, So I just was like, man, let it go. It's over. This dog is gone. You don't have to keep stocking and looking.
Thanks for listening to You Had Me at Black. Be sure to check out this episode's description for musical credits. And if you like what you just heard, head to youhadmeatblack.com/B-side to subscribe to our newsletter and unlock access to exclusive videos, behind-the-scenes interviews, and specially curated music. That's youhadmeatblack.com/B-side. Peace.